when your family got over here, and why
Okay.
don't we maybe we could talk about how your got involved in trap fishing.
Okay. All right. Well, my grandfather came over here as a young boy, and came over with his mother. There was no father.
Where did he come from?
He come from the Azores, from Puerto Delgado, and I really don't know that much about, other than when he came to this country, you know, about him. And he came to this country, and of course over in Portugal, in the Azores, fishing is a big way of life. So he, as he grew up, he got into all different types of fisheries, and he was into trap fishing, and he ran traps in Provincetown for, oh God, up until probably 20-odd, 25, 30 years.
Is that where he was living to, Provincetown?
He lived in Provincetown.
Oh, I think I just knocked the camera off.
Yeah.
So where did your, how did he meet your mom? I mean,
Well,
your grandmother.
my grandmother, I really don't know. To tell you the truth.
She was already living here? Or
She was here, yeah. She was in this country, and she was a Sousa, and he married her, and he had a brother William, Bill, and he had I guess you call it a half sister, or she was more or less adopted. In those days, if a family had trouble taking care of the children or something like that, someone would help out and take one of the children, and she raised this girl, which was his half sister. And then my father was going to school in Provincetown, and he was at 16. He decided he had enough school, and of course his father wanted him to continue on. There was something like in those days something like the Mass Maritime is today, and he wanted him to go to that. But he had enough schooling, so his father told him, well, you know what you're going to do. He said, you're going in the bow of that boat, and you're going to go trapping. So I guess it was pretty hard on him. It was a young kid, 16 years old. And he fished with his father right up until I guess from 1916 or so, something like that, 1916 on up until he got married in 1929 to my mother. And then he had had enough of fishing, and he came to Chatham, moved to Chatham. His uncle was up here. Okay. And he moved to Chatham, and he was going to build a new home. And they built a new home in Chatham, and the Depression hit. And that was pretty tough on him. And he was going to be he was coming up here to be a carpenter. And so that changed because there wasn't any work and things were bad. So he had to go back fishing. So he ended up trap fishing for Norman Jones. And at that time, Norman Jones had a partner named Parker. And he fished for them for, 30-odd years, I guess. And then I came along into the scene and decided, well, I might as well carry on the family tradition, I guess.
Now, your dad was trap fishing down here?
In Chatham, yeah. My dad fished off of Monomoy, same traps that, well, Ernie Eldridge has them right now, but they were Franny Jones had them for years. And he was there for many years, fished there. And he fished right up until he got sick, and then he had to give it up. in his late 50s. And so I came out of the, I was in the service, and when I came out of the service, I decided to go into the drywall business with my brother. We were sheetrocking and stuff. And that was going along pretty good, but I still kind of wanted to get on the water. And so then I went fishing with actually Lester Eldridge, which we all knew him as Boney. And he was a heck of a guy, nice guy, funny guy. We had a lot of fun, a lot of jokes. And there was a great group of guys around there. And I fished with him for 5 years. And we had like 3 real good years, and then the last 2 years I was there, it was real bad. It was the worst years I ever had in fishing. And that was in 64 and 65, 66. 66 I took over the business here. That's when I bought the business. And I decided that of all the things I ever done, I hated fishing the least. So that's what I decided to do. And at that time, things were pretty bad in the fishing business here, so it was a lot easier to buy the place at that time. And and I ended up staying here for, oh God, 30 years, over 30 years now. And one of the guys that fishes with me, Dick Madison, he was been with me for over 30 years.
Why do they call him Chape?
I don't know, you know.
I thought his last name was Chapin or something.
No, but God, when we was kids growing up there in school and everything, everybody called everybody Chape for some reason. I don't know, and it kind of stuck with him, you know. He kind of ended up with it. But it was, there used to be an old timer around here. They used to call him Chapey. Chapey Doan was his name. And he was really quite a character. And the guys used to really have some fun with him, you know. They'd do everything to him. They'd jack his car up and put blocks under the wheels, and he'd go to drive off and couldn't go anywhere. I mean, they were always doing something to him down here. They would raise the cane with him all the time. And so...
Did you and Chape sort of go into that, you know, fishing those traps together, or did you meet him while you were doing
the
that?
first year I was, my brother-in-law fished with me, Bob Browning, and David Geralds was the first year I went. Well, and I take that back. The first year I went, Than Higgins went with me, and David Geralds. And then my brother-in-law went the next year with me, Bob Browning. And then Chape came on. Chape went with me, but he was like just one of the guys that hired guys that came on that year. And then he went with me the next year, and from then on, for about 30 years. And then, of course, my son Ted came. He was when he got out of school. He came, and he's been with me almost 20 years now. Doesn't seem possible, you know.
So he probably started what, in the summertime?
Yeah, he used to go with us as a young kid. You know, 14 years old. You know,
even
13.
In the springtime?
Yeah, we used to. Well, in
Weekends
weekends, and then we were summer fishing at the time.
Yeah.
And he would go with us in the summer. Just be Chape, myself, and Ted, and we would fish the traps in the summer. And I mean, he was just a kid, and he had to pull in the middle of the boat, you know. But we got along all right. It worked pretty good.
That must make things really easy when you go out and you've got 3 of you pretty much used to working together so long. I mean,
well,
I had
that's
a landscaping business for 9 years, and after a couple of years, you know, the way I work with the guys, it was just so much easier having someone who knew what, you know, we didn't even have to talk, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the way it is with, you know, when Chape and I go out into the trap or anything, we don't hardly have to say anything. He knows where I'm going. I know what he's going to be doing. And you know, it's just clockwork. It's gotten so, it just makes it so simple, you know, so much easier. It seems like every year I mean, the work is hard, but still by knowing the different ways of doing it and the methods of doing it, it makes the job so much easier. I mean, the experience is something that I don't know, you just can't get out of somebody else, you know, another young guy. I mean, a young guy is as strong as a bull and everything else, but he'll do everything kind of ass backwards, you know, or whatever, backwards. But, so, yeah, I mean, he's been a great guy. He's worked hard for me and worked hard with me. And he's almost been just like partners, really, through the years. And I don't know how he's put up with me so long. Same goes for Ted. But basically, and now I've been here now, I guess I think it's been over 30-something years, so.
What do you think the big difference is between, like when your dad came down to Chatham and was trap fishing here? What do you think he saw as the difference between when he was trap fishing up in Provincetown and trap fishing down here?
Well,
I mean, as far as the
in
size?
Provincetown, the mainstay was fishing in Provincetown when my father was there. The mainstay was mackerel down in Provincetown. And up here in Chatham, the mainstay has always been squid. And it's they caught and they catch plenty of mackerel too, but squid is always here every day, you know, and it's always been one of the mainstays of the traps here. And I think that was the biggest difference for my father coming from Provincetown and coming up here was and the traps down there are much bigger, and they you know, they got poles that are twice as big as ours. They're 60 feet long, and they're sitting in 45 feet of water. And they have to use a big barge to drive the poles and everything and have a winch on it to hoist them up. I think mechanically in Provincetown they were further ahead than they were in Chatham because they had to be with such heavy equipment. And they have a big rise and fall in the tide down there. So,
how many different types of trap fishing do you think there were on the Capes? I mean, there has been on the Cape. I mean, you have probably a certain style in Provincetown, maybe Cape Cod Bay. You know, I know they were doing some of those traps that were exposed at low tide. They could even drive carts out there. I mean.
Well, I think all the traps, my father had told me one time that there was 80 traps between Truro and Provincetown. 80 traps. And then there were traps all the way from Brewster up to Sandwich.
Jeez, how do you run a boat around the Cape without hitting it?
It was pretty difficult, I'll tell you, to even, well, I really don't know. It's pretty big out there when you come right down to it, you know.
It just seems like, to me, that seems like with all the traffic there was, I mean, I'm sure they were pretty close inshore, but with all the maritime traffic around the Cape, that must have been,
yeah, well,
it must have been hitting, you know, some of these boats coming in here and getting tripped up in the,
see, most of
like at nighttime and stuff.
the traps have to be set within a trap line, is what they call, which is inside the channel. So most of you, because today you get more boat traffic because there's more smaller boats running around. Back in those days, you didn't have the outboards and things like that, like you have today. So I think the traps are more vulnerable to being hit by small pleasure boats, you know. But in those days, I don't think they had to worry about it as much as probably today.
What do you know about the ways that maybe the Cape Cod Indians used the weirs? I know they used them around like rivers and creeks for the herring and stuff.
Well,
do you know anything about how far back that goes on the Cape as far as, you know, going offshore here like this?
I know that the Indians were probably the first ones to use a trap, Weir here, you know, and I think they were very close inshore more like the what they call bush traps over in Brewster that they set up over there that are on the flats over there. There was one guy that had returned to doing it, and I think he stopped now, but he did have a small bush trap over there. And what happens is the tide goes out, and they put it like in a little...
Let's just hold up for a minute until this guy goes by.
Okay. Yeah, well... Well, they have a they have a bush trap over in they used to set them over in, they call them bush traps, and they used to set them over in Brewster. And they were out on the flats, and the tide would go out, and the trap would be high and dry, and they usually had a little pool of water in what they call the bowl, and they would go in and seine it, like seine it out. And I would say that that probably goes back to like something that probably the Indians had, you know, when they first started, you know, was in close, in shore water, and but I really don't know that much about it. I don't know.
So it's probably not something that the Europeans brought over with them. It's probably something that they adapted from some earlier.
I
mean, did they use it in England and stuff before, or Portugal before? You know, contact with America.
I really don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I've never heard of. I wouldn't be surprised. There probably are areas over there that they have such a thing as a trap. You know, overseas somewhere, but I'm not familiar with it. Other than I know in Nova Scotia and up in that area they have traps. You know, herring traps mostly, and they used to have them down in Jersey. There used to be traps down there in New Jersey. Rhode Island still has traps down that area. Down there they use a floating trap. It doesn't have any poles, and they have these big barrels like that hold the net up. And they catch basically the same kind of fish that we catch here. And down in Chesapeake they have fish weirs down there too. So they are along, there's still a few left along the coast, you know, all the way down.
How many people are trapping the Nantucket Sound? Or how many people on the Cape are still trapping? Do you know?
Well, I would say that there's probably, well, right now there's 3 outfits trapping. There's Eldridge and Simonich and myself.
On the whole Cape?
On the whole Cape. It's down to 3.
So they don't do anything up in Provincetown?
Not anymore. Provincetown hasn't had traps. I think Mark Simonich was the last one to go down there, and he set for like a year or 2, and that was it. But
they used to trap down in like around Falmouth and stuff too?
I heard that up in Falmouth there was traps up there at one time. All the times I've been around here, I've never known of it, but I've heard that there was a guy up there that did have a trap.
Why is it that the only people still trapping on the Cape are 3 guys in Chatham? Is it just because of the locale here, or is it?
Well, probably the reason why there's only 3 of us left is because of the economics of it. I mean, it's you take myself. I bought years ago. You know, I don't know. It takes. I don't know. A lot of people, I don't think really well that, should I say, foolish to do it. Maybe, you know. I mean, most of us are in it because right now it's just because we're trying to keep the tradition going. I think more than anything. I mean, it would have been so easy in the '60s just to say the heck with it and get out of it back then. Instead, I went in business. I mean, that shows you things aren't just right up there. but I always had.
That you guys all live in Chatham?
Well, I think we all fished together. You know, we all we all came out of the same group of people that fish for them, or that to know, you got to know something about the business and how to set the traps up, and we all kind of gathered that information from the people we fished with.
So you're all pretty much the same generation of guys?
Pretty much the same generation right now that's left, you know. I don't know. Now in Provincetown, I don't know if you'll ever see traps down there again, you know. And one of the big things that killed Provincetown for traps was mackerel. It never used to be quite a valuable product, and then the price on mackerel went down. We lost the freezers down there. They used to have a lot of cold storage freezers, which they don't have today. They're all motels and condos now. So there's no doubt in my mind that it's a dying business, and I don't know how many more generations it's going to go, but
let's wait till this guy goes by. All right, so you do see it as definitely something that's probably going to fade away at some point.
Well, I think that trapping will fade out only because that the determination won't be there anymore to do it. You know what I mean? There'll be so many other things that'll be easy to do that it'll be hard to find people that will carry on and doing this kind of work. You know, because you can't change it much because it's such a short season. And you can't get the equipment that you need to make it easier because it's so expensive. So you have to go with the old traditional hand power for most everything. Jessica went with us the other day, and she was very good. It really surprised me that they could go down there and stay that long. Yeah. You know, and
not just want to go
home. They didn't bitch about it. They didn't say anything at all about wanting to go home. They were good, both of them. But Matthew, he's got it bad. So I guess Linda or Ted was telling me that when she takes him to the beach now, he goes off clamming. He got his little bucket and his little thing. He's going clamming. So he don't go in the water anymore. He's going around clamming. Yeah. So he's looking for clams all the time now.
It's in his blood now.
Oh, jeez.
I guess we won't be able to get it out. The curse. Okay, we were talking about, I don't remember. We were talking about something good, though. The fact that it might disappearing, you think?
Well,
just because people won't,
I think,
no reason to continue it after.
Yeah, I think that it'd be so laborious that it'd be difficult to get people to want to do it. And unless they can come up with reasonable ways to take some of the work out of the business, you know. And I just, now that you have so much regulation coming down the line, that I mean, we're pretty much regulated by, we only got 10 weeks. Not even that, really. Actually, we got about 6 to 7 weeks right now.
What are the main regulations that affect you now at this point when you look at the season in front of you?
Well, right now it's not too bad. It hasn't really affected us that much as it has more the ground fishermen, you know. The only thing is that's affected us is maybe like scup and fluke. They put in limitations on that, which hasn't hurt us because we haven't caught that any volume of fish in the last year or two. So the regulations hasn't hurt us that much as of yet. But you can see it coming down the road, but and fishing is a thing of it's up and down. I've been in here, like I say, for 30 years, and it's been up and down. You know, it's like if you had a graph, you would see it just go like that. You know, it jumps all around. You know, it's one minute you think you're going to make a lot of money, and the next minute you think you're going to poorhouse. You know, so. But you don't do either one. You just kind of stay in between, and you make a living at it. And that's about it. If you want to work hard, and I think you can make a living doing anything if you really want to work hard enough at it, you know. So you can make a living selling shoestrings. they really want to work. But so, you know, it'll depend on this business here. It'll depend on how hard somebody wants to really carry it out, you know.
Describe the typical season for me, just sort of like the how you prepare for the season, you know, what you do in March, what you do in April. Sort of starting from the, you know, from the top, I guess.
How you mean how? Yeah.
You spend time in the winter, sort of reviewing your notes and figuring out where you're going to place your traps and everything.
Yeah. Well, what happens? I'll take and look the situation over and see how we did for the year, you know, and what I need for equipment mostly. That's the first thing I look at. I'll say I need so many poles. I'll need some nets, and I need to work on this boat, and that boat's got to have this, and in my mind, I always did everything just in my mind, more or less. You know, I really didn't have anything down anywhere. It was just a gut feeling on everything. And even spending your money, you would you knew if you had to go easy or if you could spend a little more, you know. But I always tried to keep the gear and equipment up. And we start in 1st of March, and we start getting the poles ready, and then we probably around.
Where do your poles come in from?
Most of we get our poles will come from Connecticut, and the hickory poles. They're about anywhere from 38 to 35 feet to 40 feet. 45 feet would be the biggest. And
how do you get them? Does it already have the bark?
Yeah, the poles have the bark on it. We have to bark them, and they're quite expensive. They're up to over $80 a piece now, like $2 a foot, you know. So there's a big investment in poles, and we've had a lot of trouble with losing poles, you know, from the mung there and everything. It's been snapping the poles off. But and then about in April, we start getting our nets ready, preparing them to go onto the trap after we get the poles drove and everything. And then we'll take them out, and probably about the last part of April, and we'll try one trap and see what happens, what's out there. Usually they come between the 22nd and the 1st of May is when we start looking for the squid and mackerel. And like I say, we'll get probably about maybe 7 weeks out of it if we're lucky. You know, we get probably 3 top weeks. And
when you say 7 weeks of fishing?
7 weeks of actually fishing. It's
how many have you been getting lately?
Lately we've been getting about 4 to 5. I think this year we might have got 5 out of it if we were lucky. 4. I think we only got about 4 weeks out of it, and that's hurts. You know, that extra week makes a big difference. You know, and but they came late and they left early, which was, you know, you never know what they're going to do. That's the way the years are. You know, you'd have to be a mind reader to, you know, to figure it all out. Sometimes they'll come a week in the last week of April and stay up until June, first week in June, up to the 10th of June or so. And
do you use notes that you had, you know, from your dad, or is it all pretty much up in your head at this point?
It's pretty much in my head right now. You know,
you don't have maps or anything?
Not really. You know, most all of it is just, I don't have, I know my father, I do have a book that he had that he used to keep track of everything they caught every day, you know. And this would be in the 40s, you know, late 30s, 40s, and up until the 50s, in the 50s. And it was interesting looking at this book because it, back in those days down in Chatham, they used to have fishing way up until July. They would fish, they would still come in the last week of April and stay, and they'd fish the whole month of June, May and June.
Have you ever fished into the fall?
Yeah. My father, one year they kept traps in, this is way back, to catch codfish. The traps used to catch a load of codfish in the fall. Herring would come back here in the fall, and they would catch a boatload of codfish out of the traps. And they did that for a few years, and then they kind of petered out. And there used to be whiting. We used to get whiting in the traps here, right off here. We would get whiting. But you can't catch codfish 50 miles from here anymore. So, but that only lasted a few years, and every once in a while they would have a year where they'd get a lot of bonitas. They would summer fish for them, and they had some years where they got a tremendous amount of bonitas and wheatfish. But those, they come like every 20 years or something like that, you know. It's not steady, you know. It's nothing you can depend on. One summer we were summer fishing up here, and we had king mackerel. I mean, the mackerel were that big, you know, 18 pounders, 17, 15. And we were picking up 9, 10 boxes a day, and they were worth good money. And that went on for, we'd get a week out of it, or 2 weeks, you know. It would kind of make the summer for us. But you never know. You really never know what's going to happen, you know. Like this year, it's kind of slow out there. I guess it's slow everywhere, you know.
Okay, so describe for me how you guys actually get the poles into their configuration. How you lay it out and how you actually get the poles into the sand.
Well, when we get ready in the spring to drive the traps, the poles are pumped down with water pressure. I have a pump that pumps a good stream of water, and we pump them down till they're about 6 feet. And of course everything is lined up and distanced off, and it takes us probably, I would say, we could drive a trap in about 3 to 4 days if you get the weather. The weather is good.
Just the poles, or is that including nets?
Just the poles. Yeah. We could drive the poles in that amount of time, and then it takes about 1 day to put the nets on a trap. And it's a little quicker hauling up. We can haul a trap in a day. We can take the nets off in a day. So I guess it's basically the same. But, well, it's a little quicker hauling up. Everybody's in a hurry to get through, so everything gets a little quicker then. But, and so basically, you know.
Decide what angle to put them at. I mean, one, you know, a few degrees off, and the situation is totally different as far as how they fish.
Well, yeah. Through the years, the main thing is how the tide runs, and you want your trap across the tide, and it could be just a few degrees one way or the other from a different location. Even though most of the tide here runs out here where we set tide runs east and west. But it can vary a little bit more to the eastward or a little bit more to the westward, so you'll angle your trap a little more. And you keep fooling around with it until you get it the way you like it, you know. But you can never really tell because it might be just one of those years that you happen to have a good year, you know. And you did something different, so you know, you say, well, gee, I wonder if that did make a difference.
So the fish coming in, they come in sort of, do they have like sort of different paths that they come in, or is it more how the tide's running? I mean,
well, they can come in, fish can come into this bay, they can come in from any angle. You never know. I think a lot of it has to do with the wind direction. You know, sometimes they'll come into Chatham first and move this way. Other times they'll come in. Sometimes the squid will come in down in Howard and Chatham first, and sometimes they'll come up to the westward first. I think it has a lot to do with how they're coming in and how the wind direction is, and the weather. I think has a lot to do with it. Especially squid. Squid will kind of just drift with the current and the tide. And mackerel and scup will go against the wind and tide. But we don't have much choice because we have to set where we on our grant area, so we're there for duration. Once we put the traps in, the fish could be just a few hundred yards away from you, and you might not hit them, or just off your bowl. They could just come in and not quite make your trap, you know. I mean, you really have no way of knowing sometimes how close they are. I've always felt as though we did best when the fish were come real close, which is natural, come way inshore, you know. And maybe for some reason we'd like to put a trap somewhere near around a river or something like that, where the feed probably comes out of the river. But like I say, and different temperatures in the water makes a difference, you know. Down in Chatham used to be real good squid and butterfish and mackerel and stuff. And then when they had the breakthrough down there, it changed all that. It just changed it completely. They had the main cut through that went by the weather station there, in back of the weather station, and then they had during the hurricane there, I guess it was a hurricane or a nor'easter, I guess it was, in '78, they broke through the Monomoy down there. And that just changed everything completely, changed the fishing, all that cold water coming in there. So everybody kind of had to move their traps down out of that area, and they moved up towards the western here. And now you got this mung up here that's killing everything and getting in the nets and pushing the poles over and everything. So now everybody's moving back towards Chatham because they haven't got the mung so bad down there.
What is mung?
I don't really know what mung is. It's they claim it's something that's feeds on feed.
We're talking about mung and what mung is.
Well, yeah. Well, right now we got this problem with the mung. I really don't know what it is. It's some kind of growth that grows in the rivers and stuff, and I think it's from all the high bacteria count, the fecal count that runs off the roads and stuff,
like
septic systems, you know, and it thrives on. They've analyzed some of it, and they claim that, I don't know, I don't actually have proof of it, and I'm not positive about it, but they claim that it thrives on this crap. You know.
When did you first notice it showing up in your traps?
Well, we always used to get a little bit. We used to get a little bit of this stuff way back even when I first started, you know. But in the last 5 years here, it's maybe a little longer than that. It's gotten worse. It's really gotten so bad now. It's starting to make us wonder whether we're going to be able to continue fishing.
How does it affect, you know, how successful you are at fishing? I mean, it sticks to the nets and the fish can see it.
Yeah, the trouble with the mung is that it gets on the nets and it just clings there and it holds the water. It's just like a big sponge. And it absorbs the water and blocks off the mash of the net so that the tide and the wind and the water can't flow through it. And so it has nowhere to go but to pull the net over and the poles with it. And we've trying to compensate for it with larger mesh nets. And we've increased the size, about double the size on it. It seems to help somewhat. But now that we got the net so that we can keep them on longer, they start ripping, the nets start ripping apart. So you kind of solve one problem and then another problem arises. But the stuff just clings on there, and it's right from the top to the bottom of the net. It's just plastered in there. When you take that net off, you can't believe it. And then when you put it in the fields to dry it, it disappears. It's gone. It's
like 95% water.
It's 90, yeah. By the time we get to the fields and it's all run out of the truck and everything, you know, half of it's gone. You know, and then you put it in the fields and go back the next day and look at it and you say, gee, why was that so heavy? You know, it's disappeared. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Okay, the main, there's three main parts to the fish weir, and it's the leader, the hearts, and the bowl. The leader's about 75 poles in a leader, and they're probably 25 feet apart, probably about 500 yards. And the heart is about 100 and, I guess, 150 feet on each side. And the bowl is like 300 feet around and has a bottom in it. This is the area that you actually retrieve the fish from. The fish will hit the leaders, and wherever they hit, they usually go for sound for the deeper water, so they'll go out towards the heart. And once they go into the first section, which is the heart, they'll then follow along and go into the bowl. And once they're in the bowl, they'll go around in circles until we get there. And we'll come in and pick the bottom up. And this is what we call person the trap, and we'll pull the trap across to the other side until we contain the fish. And once we get them in a confined area, then we can take them out with a kill devil. And the kill devil is a, well, we used to take them out with what we call dip nets. They were probably about 15 inches around. And the kill devil's probably about 3 or 4 times as large as one dip net. And it has a long net on it with the rings on it and a chain and a handle which you can release. And you draw up the bottom part of the net and dip it in and grab the fish up and release it, and we put it onto this, what we call the cullen board, and then we pick out whatever we can take and whatever we need, and the rest goes over the side. It's a method that we just started using within probably the past 7 or 8 years, and it's worked out very good, because we also use it when we come to the dock here and we're unloading. We can unload our fish probably, if not faster, at least it's a heck of a lot easier on the guys, because you don't have to just dip net a few pounds at a time. This thing it's run by a hoist, a hydraulic hoist, that pulls it in the air, and we can drop the fish in the bucket, and they go up into a chute where they're weighed and packed and shipped on to different parts of the country. Some go overseas to foreign markets, and some goes to the domestic markets. A year like this past year, most of our stuff went to the right here in this country, which is known as calamari squid. Many of the restaurants are now starting to carry it. It's becoming very popular. The price has risen dramatically from when I first fished. At a time when I first started fishing, we used to get like 4 cents a pound. And now they're up to, this year, I don't know if I dare say, but they were well over $1 a pound.
What are some of the problems that you see yourself facing that your dad maybe didn't have to deal with, back in the 40s and 50s?
Well, it probably, I think that the problems I had the problems that my father had in fishing and what I have in fishing, the problems that my father had in fishing and what I have in fishing are probably basically very similar. I don't think it's changed. It's made it a little bit easier for us than what he had. It's probably a little easier today than it was in his day. We have a little better equipment. He didn't have the problem of probably regulation and things like that that's coming on the scene now.
Specifically, like what kind of regulation?
Well, like the federal regulations that are on scup now, that are on fluke, and they're going to be on other species of fish. We can see it coming.
And you're limited by a certain number of days?
Well, we're not sure what they're going to do, you know. You never know what's going to happen, whether they're going to, how they're going to tackle this problem. We don't know what they're going to do. We can see what they've done in the ground fishery, and I suppose it'll be more of the same in our fishery. But I think that I think we, no matter what, we still have it better than what in my father's day. I think there was, as of right now, there probably was more fish around at that time. But they had, I can remember my father telling me they used to call them basket years, and they had years that they didn't catch much fish way back then. I can remember codfish in the 50s, the mid-50s, in the 50-year era, when they all got through down to the fish pier. There was only like 2 boats left out of a whole fleet, and then it started coming back. A lot of the guys went trapping. They trapped with Boney Eldridge and Fred Powell. And then as the fish came back in the 60s, the fleet grew and grew and grew until what you got now. But they had ups and downs too, way back then. So there's no doubt there's a lot of pressure on the fisheries with these big 300-foot boats and things that fish all went along. I think Ernie Eldridge said it best when he said it's like in the middle of the winter they're out there in the middle of the ocean, and it's like putting a straw down and they're just sucking up everything that's going. And what it does, the first place to go is it sucks everything from the edges out towards the middle. And that's why you have to keep going further and further for fish today. But there's definitely problems there. The modernization of electronics and equipment and things that they can do today, that they didn't have in, say, in my father's day. They didn't have all the electronic equipment, the RANs and the radars, and I mean that never really came into effect until the 60s, mid-60s. Then they started, even the hydraulics, and that's made a lot of difference.
I guess I want to talk a little bit about, you know, maybe the future. Is this definitely your last?
Many more years where I'm going to go trapping, but I'm just going to play it by ear, take it 1 year at a time. My son's taken over the business, and that'll relieve a lot of the pressure from me, the filling out reports and making sure the boats and equipment and everything is up to snuff. And so I'll just kind of go along as a crew member until I can't go anymore. But I don't know, really. I'm going to try it and see what happens, that's all.
How about shape?
I'm not sure. I haven't, you know, it's funny. We get done in the spring of the year when we're all done fishing. We put everything away, and we say, "Oh, we'll see you around. See you down at Larry's," and that's it until another year rolls around, and then we find out and see what. Kind of probably around the first of the year, he'll say whether he's going to go back or what he's going to do. We know that we're just.
You're considering, maybe both of you at this time, though, you're considering maybe it being your last year?
I don't know if I want to say that or not, but really, I think that, you know, we don't really know the way things have been going in this business. You know, it's if you're not making any money, it gets hard to get people to go. So I might have to hang on just because there won't be anybody else around. I don't know. It all depends. I really don't know what I'm going to do. You know, I just taking it as long as I'm healthy, as long as I feel good. I want to do something. I want to keep busy, whether it be in a lesser capacity than what I've been doing. You know, maybe I'll just kind of go as a hired man or something, you know, I don't know, really. I haven't really. If I'm healthy and I feel good, I'll go. But well, maybe Ted will fire me. I don't know. But after this year, Ted's taken over the business, and so it'd be his ball game what he wants to do. I mean, if things are going to change a lot and things are going to change around, I might not be able to go anyway physically. You know, if he's going to run more traps and do more things, he might want to. He's got his own way of doing things. He might have he might want to do things a little different. And he kind of, you know, in the last few years, there's no doubt Chape and I, and we've slowed down. We're not the same guys we were 20 years ago. So, you know, you're not as aggressive. You don't go and make that second trip like you used to. And Teddy, being a young guy taking over the business, he's got to make money. You know, in this business, the only way you make money is you've got to work hard.
Tell me about those days that. Well, actually, before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit about those, you know, those films that you looked at. What do you think of when you watch those old films from like '63? Does it look a lot different from the way you do it now?
Well, from looking at those films back in the early '60s, I guess they're mostly late '50s, early '60s. I look at the first thing that comes to my mind is I think of the guys. All those guys were so much fun, and it was just joke after joke, a lot of fun. Bad times, but we still had a laugh. And great people. I enjoyed them, and I think that's what I think of the most. As far as the trapping end of it goes, it was work, hard work, just like it is today. It hasn't changed that much. I think maybe the work was a little bit harder back then than it is today, as far as without the equipment, you know, that we don't have. But I look at the good times. It was good times, a lot of fun. I had just gotten married and had 2 children and built a new home, and we had 2 or 3 good years, and then we had like 3 bad years, real bad years, and it was tough. You know, I worked night and day, other than fishing, just worked at the Southwester, nights cooking, and my wife was waitressing, and we did everything we could to survive those years. And it was tough, but it was fun, and great people, great people.
What kind of, what do you think Ted has in front of him?
God only knows. I tell you, if I really knew one way or the other, I wish I did. But it's, in my own gut feeling, is that it will get better. I mean, I've always felt that way. I had to feel that way, you know. When you buy a business and you go into it at its worst time, it has to be something that's in you. You got to be tough. You got to, you know, there's going to be times that you're going to come up here and you're going to see a boat on the bottom. You're going to see traps tore up out there, and you got to fight back. And it's tough, you know, to get yourself up and say, oh my God, what a mess out there. Look at this, the boat's sunk. The engine's, brand new engine in it, and it's underwater, you know. And you're going to have all these heartaches that you're going to have to put up with, you know. And I feel bad in a way that I cursed him with this. But hey, you survive, you know. If you're a survivor, you'll survive.
You see your grandsons doing it?
No, I don't really. It's possible, but I hope they do other things myself. I mean, it would be nice, you know. You know, I thought that when I carried on the family tradition or something like that, you know, and I went, that it was some big deal that I was doing something. But I don't think it really mattered, you know. I don't think it really, you know, even to my folks, probably, one way or the other, they probably wished I had gone and done something different, and, you know, maybe. I think you always want, for your children, your grandchildren, you always want something better than what you had, you know. And you might think it's so bad, and they think it's so great, you know. And it's only what you see through your own eyes, I guess. But, you know, if it was good and everything was going great, it would be wonderful. But I'd hate to. It's just like Ted right now. I really don't know what's going to happen here, you know. And he doesn't either. None of us know. And I know right now he's going through some tough times, and it's probably, if you're going to have tough times, it's best you have them in the beginning, because you'll always be thinking that is around the corner, and it'll keep you a little cautious. I think that was one of the best things that happened to me. Was it made me think that, gee, next year's going to be the bad one again, you know. And so you conserved more, you know. You was a little more conservative. Whereas if you start out at the top and then go down, it's tough. So he's at the bottom right now, working up. So if he wants to fight for it and battle it, he'll come out. And it depends on how bad you want it, you know. Like I said, you can make money doing anything if you want to work hard enough at it. And this business is no different. And I just hope he does well, that's all.
Tell me about how you guys decide when you come down here and decide not to go out. What are the factors you're looking at? You know.
Well, when we get ready to haul the traps, the things that we have to take in consideration is the weather. Mainly is how hard the wind is blowing. And up to about, and the direction makes a big difference. If it's coming out of the southwest and it's blowing about 20 or so, that's about the limit of it. It gets up around 25 or more, and you're pushing your luck. Up here, easties are bad. Southeaster can be bad. It's a hard wind to pull against. It's sloshy. You don't get as much sea sometimes as you do from a southwester. But we kind of go out and we'll look in the trap and see how the seas are breaking through it. And if they, don't seem to be rolling in too bad, we'll make a stab at it. Once in a while we get caught in and we wish we weren't in it. And we'll get out, don't go to the next one, that's all. Your time is so short that you only got a few days that you get every day that you possibly can. So and that's another thing as you get older, you don't take the chance you did when you were young. Now I turn around and I look and I'm just thinking about someone getting hurt, and when you don't think about stuff like that. You just think nothing can ever happen to me, But as you get older, you start looking around and you say, gee, that guy had his hand on the rail, oh my God, this guy over here. So you're a little more alert. I don't know, I think to be a good fisherman you got to be a little bit crazy. I think if you get all your marbles and you can't be, I don't know, too conservative or what. You got to